Good evening. I'm Michael Loomis, hanging out here with you in my virtual studio, or what you would call my bedroom. And I just wanted to welcome you back to another Chew Digest Diaries. Some of my thoughts that I chewed on this morning as I was out on my daily walk. I was listening to another couple of videos on the advancement of AI, what that world would look like. And, uh, I just wanted to kind of share some of those thoughts with you. It is Saturday night, so that means I've got a big bowl of popcorn that's going to be waiting for me. So I don't know how long this is going to last. But alas, the questions of the day. Number one, what kind of artist will artificial intelligence create? And what I mean by that is what we refer to as artificial intelligence, or specifically, let's just use ChatGPT for an example. What kind of artist will that technology create in the way that Louis Armstrong, anyways, the guy that played the trumpet. Um, was the instrument created by him, or did he create the instrument, or did the instrument itself create the artist? In other words, if brass wind instruments wouldn't have been made, would he have still been an artist, the artist that he was? Uh, because clearly wind instruments were around long before him. And I picture him playing the trumpet, and he's got his big old cheeks. Um, but you also have all these other instruments that were around that, let's say, Eddie Van Halen, picked up the guitar and learned how to play it, and eventually became a musician that was uh, just he was an amazing instrumentalist, and there are tons of them. Anybody out there has their own musician of choice that they like, and yet it's who they are in combination with that technology that makes the music that we hear, whether it's music made by software or an actual physical instrument like drums or guitar or brass, piano, violin, whatever. It's the combination of the individual with the tool that gives us beautiful music. And that's really my question, is what kind of beautiful music is going to come from someone like me utilizing artificial intelligence? What am I going to create? What will that art look like? And so the question is, did the artist create the instrument, or did the instrument create the artist? Or was it just a matter of the two of them coming together at the right time and magic? So there's that idea. But also, it's at the before we finish up here tonight, I want to share kind of one of my own frustrations with like the use of Chat GPT, or what some instructors, whether it be in the high school or um, college academic environment, might refer to as cheat GPT, which I totally get it. Any homework that you can take home, high school teachers just need to assume that it's going to be done by AI. And so we are living at a time where the large language models are something that is at the very least bothersome to the educational institutions, so much so that they're having to spend a lot of money on software titles uh, that can detect whether or not the student has been utilizing uh, AI. And so, anyways, but back to my questions here about the artist and artificial intelligence. What is that going to look like? What is the future of this technology as it's beginning to be expressed? What's that going to look like? Are we only going to be people that are walking around augmented by AI while we take our phone and we interact with, say, asking ChatGPT a question? That's one way of doing it, but this is kind of clunky. And so, whether you have your headphones that have the ability to um, listen to what you're saying and then be able to respond back, that's definitely one way. There are the idea that you could have some kind of AI chip that somehow interacts with your brain tissue. Uh, no, thank you. Uh, or is it going to be something as simple as XR glasses that you wear that will be able to observe everything that you're observing and give you the opportunity to ask it to add additional context to what is happening as you're wearing these, as you're looking around, or that it might simply be able to record a stream of your daily life that's then uploaded to a cloud that you can then use as a memory database to call upon in case you want to remember something like, hey, I was walking and I was near this address, I was on this street. Go back to that point so that you can remember. And are these things going to make us weaker by nature? Are they going to be taking our intellect from us, or is it simply that they're going to be freeing us up to become a different version of ourselves that we are yet to see and understand? And I think that's what we're looking at. Like, how do we, why do we struggle with trying to figure out, like, for example, what the world's going to look like regarding employment or being able to earn an income, or are we even going to need to be earning an income? And I know I've talked about that, the idea of a universal basic income, or what I would like to refer to as a universal basic equity, in that everybody will have no need of worry for food, shelter, or clothing, or medical care, because those costs are all going to be covered simply because, and again, this is the hard part, because somebody's got to pay for it. Well, it's not that. I mean, when you think about it, we came from a world where we didn't have any money, and yet we still made dough. And yes, pun intended. We came from a world where we did not have money, and yet we still made bread, that stuff we spend. I imagine people are gonna say, yeah, but you know what, Mike, I don't want to have to go back and figure out how to learn how to catch fish. I don't want to have to go out and be a farmer and grow a crop of wheat just so I can make a loaf of bread. And I totally get that. But what we're going to have is automation, machines, robotics that are going to do all that hard work. And in turn, the cost of these things are going to reduce so much. And again, I this is a broken wheel. I'm looking at trying to answer a question from a world and life view that requires an income where we trade our time for things we call dollar bills or shekels or gold coins or an American eagle or quarters, whatever. And it's really hard to get away from that idea that, well, if there's going to be a universal basic income, who's going to pay for that, right? Is there going to be somebody that, like a Jeff Bezos or an Elon Musk, that makes $1 trillion a year that is then going to redistribute his $1 bills to everybody? The better question is, why do we still need the $1 bills? What's the world going to look like when we have a basic need and nobody has the ability to work because everything has been automated away? I'm sorry, but I can't imagine that there's anybody that's going to say, look, if all of your needs were met, would you still want to shut off all the technology that are making all of your needs met so that you go back to work to earn dollars to pay for your basic needs? The answer should be hell no. And I think that's part of the problem is most of us don't have the ability to wrap our heads around what will the future look like. And so again, I'm back to this idea of, if all of your basic needs are met, but yet you still had the same opportunity to go and spend 8 hours a day at a Walmart doing what a Walmart employee does today, just because you see value in doing what a Walmart employee does, would you do it? I think the answer is going to be no thanks. I think I want to go over there and do what that guy is doing with his golf clubs. Or better yet, maybe I'll drive down to Laguna and just, go down to Crescent Bay, walk around the tide pools and soak my feet in some salt water and look at the sea anemones and, enjoy Mother Nature. Get out, walk 4 or 5 miles a day, go to the gym, go sit in the sauna, go sit in the steam room, live a healthier life, take a nap, write a book, learn how to play an instrument, make a video on YouTube, draw something, be creative, be an artist. Why not? What's holding you back? Is it having a job that's holding you back? I mean, the way I see it, employment is prison life. It's another form of prison, and having been born into it, we cannot imagine a world where the walls and the gates don't exist. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Here we are having a discussion, and I can't even form the words in such a way that it doesn't still have the implied meaning that even if we don't have work, somebody else is going to have to work really hard to provide us with some money we have to spend. That's just not the case. And if a lot of theft, petty theft that happens in stores, whether it be clothing or grocery stores or whatever kind of store, if there's no need for currency because people can just go have their needs met because it's all, we're beyond that system that is part and parcel of our past, well, then they're not going to be stealing anymore and they're not going to be punished. It's not going to be a crime. But if somebody decides they want to hoard 2x4s, well, that's going to get boring pretty quick because what do what's the point of going to Home Depot and hoarding 2x4s to fill up your garage? What are you going to do? Try and sell them to a whole bunch of other people that can go to Home Depot and also walk in and walk out with a bunch of 2x4s? You see my point? So there's not going to be any need to steal anything. What would be the point? And if you can remove so many situations like that, imagine what that's going to do for our penal system. Imagine that a lot of the population that's in prison currently is going to go down drastically. I mean, what are you going to steal when everything is already free? And so here's one of my questions that I thought of is, if you happen to meet somebody today who is a billionaire and they wanted to spend the rest of their life with you, whether it be marriage or a partnership or whatever, and they told you, you never have to work another day in your life, ever, would you still choose to work? Or would you enjoy that life and learn how to live it like somebody that had no need to earn an income? The answer is pretty simple. It's the second choice. And I know it is because there are plenty of people that have done it ad infinitum. Think about housewives or house spouses or whatever you want to call it. These are people that potentially have lived their whole life without having to go somewhere and be an employee. So, a good portion of the world already knows how to do this and they're doing it just fine. They're not having problems. So why should we expect anyone else will? I mean, think about it. We've spent all these years throughout this industrial revolution creating devices that will eliminate the need for sweaty, dirty, injurious jobs. And as we are approaching the end of that game, let's say there is a day in the year 2030 that comes when we can say, we have just now eliminated the last job that's out there because of technology. Isn't that awesome? Let's celebrate. Let's have fireworks. Let's have a party. Everybody take a week off. Then we're going to go ahead and shut all this stuff off so you guys can go back to work. How do you like that? No, nobody's going to want to go back to work. They'll figure out how to live life like a billionaire. And guess what? They're not going to have any problem with it. Will there be some people that want to live a life of excess, drink themselves to death? Will they find themselves bored? I imagine there are going to be some of those people, and I imagine there will be, a lot of still remain a large need for counseling to help people get to a point where they can realize the benefit of it without having to sit there and go do things like, well, let's just say entertain or enact self-destructive mechanisms. Anyways, another thought that I had was by using technology like AI and robotics, you will cease to be the employee, but in turn you will become the employer of those designing these newer technologies, by which you will become the user of the technology, by which you become a further director of their features. And so in that sense, there is going to be an integration, at least in the near future, of large language models where they have access to like the whole internet all the way up until the present day or the day before, that will provide us with the context by which we can even have we would even have conversations. And I mean, even down to, like Netflix or YouTube here. I mean, is YouTube even going to be a place for creators, or is it going to be a place that is created by the AI technology? Are we even going to be able to tell whether or not the person we see on the screen here is actually AI or not, or will it really even matter? Or I I predict that the future of Netflix will be one where we don't have to go on and sift through and watch previews of different movies until we find something that we like, uh, based on recommendations from things we gave thumbs up to previously, and that all these things will be crafted for us. Now, the only problem with that is that's kind of like, I guess in some sense, it kind of creeps me out because it's kind of like a drug dealer that has the ability to know that there's a certain chemistry of, say, mixing these two or three different kind of drugs together to produce a state of euphoria that you really like, and that programmers or AI architects are going to sit there and program the machine to create content that is going to make it even more difficult for you to disconnect from, in the sense that, like, if like right now, if you're on TikTok and you're doom scrolling, right, you're just doing this and you're up and down, but then something catches your eye and you stop and you watch it. I tell you right now, TikTok is paying attention to that and saying, okay, he's specifically stopping scrolling. Keep track of this. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to continually be trying to provide him more of these shorts that are like this one. And so that he will so that this user will continue to choose to stay on this, to stay plugged into the network for longer. And we will start creating content on the fly that is more attuned to this individual user's desires and likes. And then what we'll do is we will integrate advertising into those things based on the needs we know that they have. And so, God, I don't even know. Anyways, crazy thoughts. I'm also thinking about creating, at least for the time being, um, this idea of office hours. I think it would be neat if I could get back into a world of broadcasting like I used to do, where I could have like office hours, or the idea of the student is in, so that I could help people when it comes to their nutrition and health, and what it means to be making better decisions so that they can get their body back into a place where it is something that we call healthy, some that body that we'd all like to have, whatever that looks like. Because I know that it's not a body that is unhealthy, that people say, yeah, I really want to look like that, somebody that's going to be dying at a young age because of disease. No, it's going to be just the opposite of that. Anyways, rather than trying to get students, this is my last thought, and this is something I would like to address with some of my professors, or it would be neat to talk to I guess you would say educational planners, and that is the idea of, rather than trying to get students to not use AI on their homework, why not learn how to incorporate AI as the future, as a future component of I mean, okay, let me back up. Rather than trying to get students to not use AI for their homework, why not learn how to incorporate AI into the curriculum that also teaches students how to use it in a manner that their future employers are going to expect of them? Okay, because right now our educational institutions are trying to get students to not use these tools, and you're wanting to maintain a classical style of education from before the invention of AI, yet you want to send these students off into a world where there's going to be a full expectation of them to use AI. And what's going to happen is they're not going to be prepared. And quite frankly, isn't that what going to school to get a bachelor's or a master's degree is for? To prepare people for that employment world. And if you're doing everything you can at this point to hinder them using the tools necessary to function in that environment, then what help is that? And that's my final thought for the night. I'm going to check out because it is Saturday night, and I think I'm ready to have a bowl of popcorn followed by a glass of milk, and watch a little bit of Netflix, and then go to sleep. I love my La La Land. Makes it hard to wake up in the morning because, I don't know, there's just something so beneficial to getting a good night's sleep, to wake up the next morning and realize I have another day ahead of me where I can breathe and get out and walk and exercise and spend time with family, loved ones, hugging, and being able to put my arms around my mom, my daughters, and just my grandkids. Life is good. Life is good. Anyways, I am checking out for the night. Michael Loomis here with you, Chew Digest. We'll see you again tomorrow. And until then, bye-bye.